Yeah, just kind of a footnote here, because here we are. We've been kind of trying to talk about this very kind of thing. I would say was kind of a very advanced thing, about the creation of the creation story and things like that. And the thing was, I was remembering. I just want to kind of talk about this a little bit. See, here's the thing that is kind of all backwards with people. Who think about spiritual things and just people who kind of get led off into different things is that when you have a spiritual when the Almighty comes for you, or when you're awakened, or when you start to grow and things like this, and start to come alive, and in a kind of different way, in a new way, sort of um you're just a baby in a certain kind of way, and you don't know much, and you've been talking in a way that really isn't coming from the right place, and you've been acting from sources that were really not so hot. They're good, healthy sources, but they're not really the sources that are gonna should be running your life. Particularly. Anywho, you're um, kind of dealing with things, very simple things. Um, about how to comport yourself, how the kind of attitudes that you have, and basic realities. What's harmful and what's not harmful, things like that. So, um, it's really a lot like kind of like being in kindergarten and just starting out, and so you want to learn your ABCs first. You know your you have to get your tools together and stuff. And so now, way off there in college or in senior year in high school, why they may even be learning calculus and you know derivatives and all kind of things and pretty fancy stuff, and it's way over your head, way over your head. You don't have anywhere near the capacity at this point when you're in kindergarten to deal with these things. You just don't. You haven't progressed to that point. You know, most of you, almost everybody. So, so, but then it's kind of like people who get involved spiritually are kind of like kids. They want to pretend that they can do calculus. Oh, see, I draw this thing, see, and then that derives from that. Blah, blah, blah. They don't even know what they're talking about. Yeah, so to already just to know, for instance, like what your attitude is about your neighbors, or let's just say what your attitude is about yourself, what it is and what it should be, or the source of where it's coming from, and then where it should come from. Just to even know that is already something that it takes a while for that instrument and the situation in your own being where things are kind of separating out, that have kind of inhabited you or kind of influenced you. It takes a while to get to there. It takes a long time. It takes time. Maybe not. It's not too long. It goes right along, but I mean, it's a process. It's a period of time. So you can't do calculus now. And so the wiser thing, you know, to do, and I would suggest that you do this, if you don't understand something. For instance, we were talking about the Bible, and we come at first pretty easy, can kind of pretty much be sure that God's talking to this guy. Has to be some guy, doesn't it? So we're pretty sure. We're making an assumption, aren't we? Could be some bizarre thing, but most likely it's a guy. Or maybe it was a woman. I don't know. Could have been. But anyway, he's talking through a person who lives here. They understand, the Aramaic language. And he's talking in Aramaic through this person and talking about the creation. But and he as I said, he's very, very, it's pretty cool. You really look at it; it's pretty cool. He doesn't talk. He just talks about a few things. Makes it's very efficient. It's very like just the points. Even so, even for us, it becomes difficult right away. The waters, the whole thing about the waters and the Spirit of God moving on the waters. Who knows what that means? What does it mean? Have you seen it? If you saw it, if God showed it to you, then you'd know what it meant. I've never seen it. I didn't see it. I've seen it. Maybe my inner being has, but I'm not ready. Or maybe I don't know. But I'm not ready to. If you want to ask me how to cut up an apple, I could show you, and I get a good knife, and what kind of apples might taste better, be better, used for this and that. I could go on and on about apples, simple things. And, for that matter, I could go on and on. It would be inappropriate. I won't, but I could go on and on about, I don't know how you talk and how you might talk, or where that source of your speech comes from. I don't want to get into mental things, okay? I mean, I don't want to get anything that the mind go like, oh, I see, yeah, sources, blah, blah, blah. No, let's not do that, okay? Let's not. But I'm just saying that you. So there's the funny thing. Here are these people who really are not even started yet. They're not even started, and they're already wanting to know the most kind of advanced, in a certain way, the most advanced things. How presumptuous is that? How was how presumptuous is it to start considering or think you could understand how the Almighty creates or does things? How could you think that you could do that when you can't even spell? But the mind of man, this is another interesting thing that, see, it's a little tricky, this development of man, because there you are and you've developed your brain. I mean, your brain and God, through the years and the eons and everything, the brain has got pretty developed, the mind. So then there you are, you're running around with this highly developed thing, and you think, well, gee, I must be highly developed too, but that's not the case. You have the fancy car, but you're still the same guy. And you know that the wrong kind of guy gets into that car, he's just gonna, oh, that's dangerous, you don't want to do that. And so people are, they try to get way ahead of themselves. And it just goes on and on, and they talk, how they think they understand what God was doing or what Christ was doing. No, you don't understand. You can understand, the human, something in it that you understand. So I just want to kind of append this because the whole thing is actually 180 degrees in reverse of what it should be. Only people who are spiritually developed could actually tell you about the beginnings of things. For instance, I know of somebody, I don't know why, but they could explain And it was a wonderful story, one of the best stories I ever heard. It explains about kind of the beginning thing of man on the earth, but it didn't happen on the earth. It happened in the real place where human beings, the human soul, actually resides. And it was a story about the conversation that took place with the first being who came here. Now we call that being Adam here, but there, but I mean Adam just means the first being. So maybe I'll just share a little bit of that story with you. Maybe it's too much. I don't know. It's a great story. Makes perfect sense. It doesn't start on the earth. It starts on the place where we came from. And it's not involved in complex things like how God creates things. I mean, what? Well, who do you think you? I mean, like what? It's like you're the apprentice carpenter and you're bothering the journeyman carpenter. You see him doing something pretty fancy, pretty neat. You want to know how he does it. Don't bother me right now, because like there's 400 steps that you have to go through each one before you can do what he's doing, and you can't even saw a straight line. So there's a progression. There's a step-by-step things that we learn. We know this. We know this from our own experience. Step by step. Are you ready for this? And you learn that, and you go on. And hopefully you keep going on. And the story, such a wonderful story about when the first being came here. But I'm not going to tell you, and I'll tell you why. Partly because you're already probably not believing me and this and that, and who knows what you might be thinking. And since I have absolutely no authority on the world, except whatever authority that God gives me at any moment. So I'll tell you what. If you want to know the story of how the first man came here, first being, the conversation that took place, the story of that conversation between the Almighty and that being, and what happened then, why, you can email me or you can message me. I see, I didn't realize on this YouTube thing, there's a whole thing where you can, there's a button you push somewhere or something. You can get in touch with me. You can find me. You can email me. I think there's a way I've mentioned my other talks. Or I think there's there's something, I'm not going to look it up right now. There's a thing on the YouTube page where you can leave a comment to the person or something. I found it. So I know it's there. I forget right. Well, if you want to know that story, email me, and I'll make a video, and I'll make it private, okay? And then I'll give you the private address, and you can see the story. And then if you have some friends who want to know the story, they can email me too. And the reason I'm doing this is because nobody seems to be interested in this stuff. So I hope. I don't want to put out a bunch of stuff there that nobody's interested in. Please don't talk to us about, God talking to the first being. I'm not interested in anything like that. I know, I have my book. My book tells me everything I need to know, and blah, 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 Or, oh, you don't even know what you're talking about, so I don't want to waste my time. Or actually, I guess I don't really want to tell those people, well, the story, the good story, I know. Because, they don't deserve to hear it. Okay? So there we go. Alright, bye-bye.